Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone. Today is April the 7th of 2017. Yesterday, I put up a post concerning Syria and what the Bible has to say about the devastation that's going to take place for the country of Syria. I gave you a couple scriptures, and you'll see that video by going over to my website. I'm not going to go over the full context of what I wrote you yesterday and put up that video, but just let me say this. Yesterday I warned you what I said back in 2012, and I was talking about Bashar al-Assad and how if he was attacked that he would attack Israel. And one of the questions that I got as a reply to my video is, why would Israel attack Syria? Well, I thought it was self-explanatory when I put up what Bashar al-Assad said, that if he was attacked, or he was going to attack Israel. When you're going after a wild animal and you corner that animal, he'll do anything to escape. And this is generally what Bashar al-Assad has told the press, and they reported about it. So if he does see that he is cornered and there's no way out, I believe that he's going to carry through with that promise that he made back in 2012 when he said that he would attack Israel. It's as simple as that. Now, when I put up the post yesterday, I talked about what was going to happen in the future, and I said, I can't tell you whether Israel is going to attack, whether the United States is going to attack, or maybe the UN. And I had two phone calls later on in the evening when I posted that video. I went out to dinner, and I had two people call and tell me, do you know what happened? And I said, what? And they told me that the United States had attacked Syria. When I received that call, I thought, oh my Lord, what timing. Now, we don't know what the outcome is going to be right now. All I know is the United States struck first. We're going to have to sit back and watch and see how it develops. And one of the other questions that I got in that video that you see right here, it says, false flag to blame Syria neocons pushing this line. And my response would be this: does it really matter if it's a false flag or it's not a false flag? What I'm pointing to is the end results. The end result is going to eventually be that Syria is going to be leveled. Could it be a false flag? Yes, indeed. But what we don't know is how God is manipulating the strings in these governments to fulfill his prophecy. So could it be a false flag? It could be. Could it be true, as some have already espoused? Yes, it could be. But the bottom line is this: the end of the day, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Now, how long it will take before you actually get there, that's up to the Lord. And our job is to keep on the watch, as I said yesterday. Now, I want to throw something in the mix here, because there's another prophecy about a war that hasn't taken place yet. And I just want to show you, as I did yesterday, the footprints that will eventually lead to the war that Ezekiel talks about, that God showed Ezekiel so many years ago for the latter days, or at the end of days. And you'll see that in chapter 38 and 39. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, it describes an attack against the nation of Israel. And it gives the very nations who are going to be involved in this assault against Israel. Many of you who have come to my YouTube channel have seen many of my videos that I talk about this war as news develops, pointing to the fulfillment of this war. Now, some of the players in this war that you'll see in the news happen to be, once again, in the news. Now, unlike the Psalm 83 war, where the nations in that war actually border the nation of Israel, Ezekiel 38 and 39 describes the nations that are in the peripheral. In other words, they don't border Israel, but they're going to be coming against Israel. And I believe that that will happen after the Psalm 83 war, and there are many reasons for that, and they're all spelled out in my book if you'd like to get those reasons. But the map that I'm showing here is the direction that the Lord shows us that this attack will be coming from. But very briefly, just let me tell you one of the things that the Lord showed us in that prophecy, that war is not going to take place until there are no bars, no gates, and no walls protecting the nation of Israel. In other words, they're going to be feeling safe enough that they're going to remove the bars, the gates, and the walls that they presently have there in Israel. Now, the picture you're looking at is a picture I took when I was in Israel. It's part of the wall that travels 320 miles separating the Palestinians from the Israelis. Now, I believe that in the Psalm 83 war, when Israel is attacked, they're going to defeat their enemies. And they're going to defeat them decisively. And the result will be Israel is going to grab up more land. They'll feel safe enough at that point to bring down the gates, the walls, and the bars that the Lord reveals to us that will be taken down in that prophecy in Ezekiel. Now, once those walls, gates, and bars are removed, you have a setup for the Ezekiel attack. That's what we see in the Ezekiel prophecy. Now, this is where it gets really exciting for me, because I could see the footprints in the news today and connecting that news that I'm watching to this Ezekiel war. Now, in my book, when you go and download my book today for free, you're going to see this page on my book. And it talks about some of the players who are going to be involved in the war, in the Ezekiel war. And then it also talks about the players who are not going to be involved in that war, who we see that are not going to be fighting. So let me just read to you what I put down in my book, and then I'm going to bring you to today's news to show you that the same exact nations who are listed in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 prophecy are allied with Israel in the last days. It says this: current events are proving the word of God is coming to pass. For the past 4 years, while Obama has been saying he will support Israel, he has allowed Iran to keep working on producing their nuclear bomb. In May of 2012, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia were taking part in a military exercise that when I saw the name of this exercise, I could hear the Lord say, "If you are watching, I will show you." And let me show you what I believe the Lord was pointing out to me. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 13 tells us that Great Britain, which is Tarshish in the Old Testament and is known as the lion, the United States, Canada, and Australia, which are the young lions, a break off from the main lion, Tarshish are in the area of Saudi Arabia, which is known as Sheba and Dedan at the time the attack against Israel breaks out. So that was information that I gave to you involving my timeline, and I go way past 2012 with these military exercises, which they were very, very current. You'll see that information in my book as well. I don't believe that it's a mistake that the exercise are called the Eager Lion, and I don't believe that it's also a coincidence that these exact nations all support the nation of Israel. And these nations are primarily aligned with each other. Just for the purpose of bringing you up to date, you'll also see this in my book that I talk about, this article that came out May 23rd of 2016, and also on January 10th of 2017, where these Eager Lion exercises are taking place. So the news you're looking at right now is from the BBC. Syria war, U.S. missile strikes brings angry Russian response. Now, when you look at the Ezekiel war, you'll see, for example, the attack, we're told in several places, that it will come from the northern quarters. Where's Russia? In the northern quarters. When the Ezekiel war takes place, it's going to be Muslims coming down on Israel. And Russia, as you can see here, has 9,400,000 of those Muslims that are living in Russia right now. And I believe that since it talks about the attack coming from the northern quarters, that Russia will be involved with the other nations that are listed in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, because they're Muslim nations coming against Israel to try to wipe her out. And I don't believe that Syria is allied with Russia by any coincidence. I believe that the lining up to fulfill the prophecy is taking place before us, and many people do not understand what's happening. Now, if you're one of the people who don't have television and you do connect to the internet and you haven't seen the news, let me just play this short section here for you. America launching these missiles at Syria. So again, whether it's fake news or not, to bring these nations together for completion of prophecy, well, that's debatable. The end result, and why even debate it when you want to look at the end result of what the Lord has revealed to us? How it gets there, well, that's His business, but if you don't know the end result, you're not going to know what to look for, and that's my job, to help you see what the Lord said and where we're going to see the finish of that prophecy that the Lord gave to us. And I believe fully that our generation will see these things, because Jesus told us in Matthew 24, for example, that this generation will not pass till all these things take place. Now, I'm going to connect the dots for you to show you the alliance in Ezekiel 38 is being played out in the news, and this is why it's so important to understand what the Lord has written down for us. So if He tells us that these young lions are going to be united together, and we understand who the main lion is, and then the young lions, the break-off of Tarshish or Great Britain. So you have, again, Australia, who's in the mix there. Take a look at this article, because this talks about the Australian government strongly supports the swift and just response of the U.S. against this Syrian attack. Watch this.
As you know, on the 4th of April, the Syrian regime, Bashar al-Assad, committed a shocking war crime against the people of Syria with a chemical attack at Khan Shaykhun in Idlib province. More than 70 people were killed in horrific circumstances. Civilians, women, children, babies. It was a crime that called out for a swift response. And today the United States has responded, launching 59 cruise missiles from 2 US Navy destroyers against the Sharia airfield southwest of Homs, from which the chemical attack was conducted. The effect of the American response has been to reduce the ability of the Syrian government to deliver chemical weapons in the shocking manner in which they did a few days ago.
Or I'm going to stop it right there. Now let's go to another nation that is listed in that prophecy. Now this news came out yesterday in the evening, I believe. Canada fully supports U.S. strike on Syria, Trudeau says. Watch the video.
Stand firmly again. First off, we condemn in the strongest of terms the heinous attacks against civilians, including children, by chemical weapons. This is a war crime, and the entire international community must stand firmly against such things. There are, of course, still questions to be answered around who is responsible for these, and that's why Canada is proud of its contribution to the UN mechanism that is tasked with determining responsibility in these issues, but also why we are calling upon the Security Council to pass a strong resolution, hopefully either later today or in the coming days.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. So you see that Canada's on board, Australia is on board. Now this article just surfaced. You'll see the headline there from the Evening Standard. Syria airstrikes. UK backs Donald Trump's cruise missile strike in response to Assad's chemical attack, which killed 72 people. and they're going to show you the same video that I showed you before here. But the bottom line is this: the UK is on board. The United States obviously is connected with the UK in their support. Australia and Canada, the very nations who are listed in that Ezekiel 38 war. All right, here's another article that came out today. How leaders around the world have responded to Trump's strike on Syria. I'm going to scroll down first of all to show you the response of Saudi Arabia, since I'm connecting those dots. In this article, they show you a picture with Donald Trump and one of the leaders from Saudi Arabia. The article says this: U.S. ally, get that now, Saudi Arabia endorsed the strike, going so far as to call the action courageous and praising Trump's willingness to act. So every one of those nations that are listed in the Ezekiel 38 war, I just showed you they're allied. And I also showed you how Russia and Syria are allied. And it's not by coincidence that Syria has threatened Israel and they're allied with Russia. But that's not all. Take a look at the rest in this article. Take a look at some other information about another player that is involved in the Ezekiel war against Israel. The article talks about Iran. If you've read my book, if you've watched any of my videos about Iran, or you've been one of those people who've seen my live presentations, I've shown you countless documents and videos, actual videos, of the leaders in Iran saying that they want to wipe out the nation of Israel, exactly what we see in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war. Now, if the Ezekiel 38 war talks about Israel and who's going to attack them and who's going to be allied with them, let's look at Israel. And this article talks about Israel. The Israeli government is an old foe of Syria. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, also a Trump ally, enthusiastically welcomed Trump's action and went so far as to equate the strike with a message sent to the world. Israel fully, unequivocally supports the president's decision and hopes the clear message will reverberate not only in Damascus but also in Tehran. So as I said, I wanted to bring you a different look at what was going on because I look towards the future. I'm also looking at the present circumstances that are going to get us to the end result, in other words, the finishing of the prophecies that the Lord has given to us. Now, during the course, as we move in our generation, as we watch these birth pangs, different events may shift, and only God knows how that's going to happen. But our job, again, by Jesus Christ telling us to keep on the watch, I am sure that if you know the prophecy and you know what to look for as the end result, we'll watch these events taking place, and they're all going to lead to one place. They're all on the same road. That's to finish the prophecies. I hope this was interesting to you, and I'm hoping that these videos will encourage you to come and challenge yourself. If you don't know much about prophecy, please go to my website, download my book today for free. There's all kinds of documentation in there about all different types of prophecies that the Lord has told us, and I'm showing you how they're being fulfilled in that book. This is Frank DeMoore with the End Times Research Ministry saying have a great weekend.